As a parent, it's painful to watch your child struggle, especially when you've pinned your hopes on a detox protocol only to see behavior and signs get worse instead of better. If you've started your child on a heavy metal detox and suddenly noticed a resurgence of meltdowns, sensory issues, sleep challenges, seizures, motor tics, anxiety, and other behaviors that you thought were long behind them, you're likely feeling quite discouraged and confused, but you're also not alone. And what's happening is actually very common. And here's what most practitioners aren't fully explaining. There are two very different reasons for this kind of regression, and understanding the difference can change everything about your child's healing journey. This message is for parents who've seen setbacks during a detox, or those who are considering it but have heard about this and are feeling unsure and overwhelmed and not quite ready to pull the trigger. You'll discover why regression happens, how to tell if it's part of the healing process or a warning sign that an important step was missed, and most importantly, we'll cover that foundational step that should always come before a detox to make sure it's as safe and far more effective as can be. All right, let's dive into the problem even a bit deeper. A recent study looked at 59 known toxic chemicals and set out to see if these chemicals were present or not in umbilical cord blood, meaning they'd be passed on from mother to the developing baby's brain and nervous system. Shockingly and sadly, 80% of these toxic chemicals were indeed found in that cord blood and were being passed on to babies. Our children are being exposed to heavy metals and environmental toxins before they even show up out here and take their first breath. And then you add in all these astonishingly unbelievable high amounts of heavy metals and other toxic chemicals that our infants and young kids are exposed to through things like vaccinations, medications, and all sorts of environmental pollutants, household cleaners, pesticides, preservatives, chemicals in foods, laundry detergents, air pollution, you name it, the list goes on and on. And when we look at what the CDC says about chronic illness and developmental delays, they admit that 1 out of 6 kids has a neurodevelopmental condition, 40% of kids have at least one chronic illness, and there's research showing up more and more every day that connects these neurodevelopmental issues and chronic health challenges to heavy metals and other toxic exposures. When you're armed with this information and frustrating reality, parents like you are turning to detox protocols after exhausting traditional medical options that talk about it but don't really dive deep into it. But what if you know that this detox has to happen and those toxins and those chemicals need to get out of the body, but you don't quite know if the regressions and things getting worse as you do it are a sign of healing happening or something missing? All right, before we get ahead of ourselves, it's important to know that there are two distinct types of detox, regressions, and supposed setbacks. One is not actually a regression at all, and it's a sign, a positive sign that healing is happening. When these toxins become mobilized from the tissues in the areas that they got trapped and stuck in the body, and when the body is actually getting better, so often this will get kicked in from neurologically focused adjustments and definitely from different detox agents, heavy metal binders, and so forth. It pulls those toxins out of the tissues and they're going to circulate in the bloodstream for a period of time before the body can get them officially entirely eliminated. And it's those toxins in circulation, once again, that cause the flare-ups and the increase in signs or setbacks. In functional medicine, this is called a healing crisis. And what it really is a neurophysiological or kind of a neurochemistry reaction that the body needs to go through to get those toxins out of the body. That's the first type of detox regression and supposed setback. It's actually a sign of good, important, albeit very bumpy things happening. Now, the second one, and it's hard to differentiate between these two, and we're going to keep going through this video, get all the way to the end so you really know how to differentiate between the two. But the second one is a sign that your child's nervous system is still too unstable and not quite ready to handle the detox protocols. So what happens is when a child goes through the perfect storm, which we're going to break down real quick next, that leaves their nervous system in what's called a subluxated, dysregulated, dysfunctional state. So the nervous system is out of balance. The real nerd term for that is what's called dysautonomia. And whenever that dysfunction, that dysregulation and dysautonomia or subluxation is stuck in the system foundationally, it leaves the entire nervous system in what's called a sympathetic dominant fight or flight state. Now, what that'll do is that'll shut down the gut. It'll just really reduce motility and elimination from a very basic, almost biomechanical function. The body just literally can't move toxins through the body. That's why most kids with autism and so forth have all sorts of constipation and neurogastric challenges that don't even have anything to do with toxins or diet or heavy metals. It's just the body's plumbing literally can't work and get things out. The other thing that this subluxation and sympathetic dominance does is it leaves the immune system in a very hypersensitive, pro-inflammatory, just immediate reactionary state. And so at this kind of detox regression, it's a sign that we need to kind of go backwards to go forward in terms of the healing modalities and care options and say, hey, if this child is getting significantly worse during the detox, it could be and often is a sign that there needs to be some foundational neurological and nervous system repair and regulation done first. Now, I said at the end of the video, I would help you as parents out there say, okay, well, which one is it? Is it a positive sign that the toxins are just back in the bloodstream and we got to push through and get it out of there? Or is it a sign that we, again, the best way I can ever phrase it is kind of go backwards to go forward, which means, hey, let's look at all the different healing modalities and you know, the old saying, line up the ducks perhaps differently and in a different order, what I like to often call the batting order or the sequence. And again, the duck analogy kind of fits here. And the way you can really find out for your child, and what I'm about to say may sound like the least scientific thing I'm going to say in this entire message, but the way you find out is you got to really listen to your gut, number one. You know your child best. And when they're going through setbacks and regressions and things are getting worse, your gut has something called the vagus nerve. It's your enteric nervous system. It's your innate nervous system. I know it sounds not scientific, but it actually is. Parents know their kids better by 1,000 million miles than even those practitioners like me who get as invested and as connected. Like, you'll never meet someone like a neurologically focused chiropractor who dives as deep and just really works to get to know your child and your family and all the ins and outs at the level that we do. And even with that, you know your child best. So before I move on to the final talking points of this one, I just want you to know that the easiest, and what I found in almost 20 years of practice, most accurate way to differentiate between whether the detox regression is a positive sign or a sign that we need to hit pause and go do some neurological repair, which again, I'm going to break down that next. Listen to your gut. I know a lot of practitioners, even on the natural holistic side, don't always tell you to do that. But right smack in the middle of this one, I just really need to illustrate that because it's the most accurate, helpful, transformational thing that I've ever been able to help our parents with. Okay, so back to subluxation, dysregulation, dysfunction, dysautonomia, these nerd terms I brought up. Where do they come from? Why would a child's nervous system need to be repaired before we address the heavy metals and the toxins? Because if we go back and we look at a child's case history, and this is also how you can help delineate between whether it's a positive or a potentially negative sign that your child's getting worse while they detox, is you can go back through your child's case history, and if there was a lot of stress on the fertility and pregnancy journey, there was a lot of intervention like forceps, vacuum, breech position, C-section, induction, epidural, and a lot of physical twisting, pulling, yanking, twisting. So physical trauma, injury to their brainstem, their neck, and the area, by the way, this whole sympathetic fight or flight, nervous system dysregulation, all of that control, even of digestive motility and of the immune system and its reactions to things, its ability to detox and eliminate toxins, all of that is controlled in what's called the brainstem and the upper cervical area. Think of your child's brainstem, upper neck area as air traffic control for every physiological function in the body, primarily digestive motility, so detoxification, and immune system and regulation of inflammation. And so when there is a lot of birth intervention and birth trauma, that's a sign that your child's nervous system is likely subluxated and foundationally injured, and that needs to be repaired. That needs to be corrected and adjusted first before they're going to respond well to the third component of the perfect storm, which is toxins and heavy metals and vaccinations and antibiotics and all the other chemicals that we're exposed to. And I want you to really catch that point before we round third base and we finish this message up. The toxins that our kids are exposed to, they are very early in their life and their development. They are very much too often and too many, but they are third. In the majority, about 85 to 90% of case studies we take, case histories we take in our practice, and I have taken thousands of them, the stress from pregnancy and fertility, and then birth trauma and what's called subluxation and dysfunction into the autonomic nervous system, the vagus nerve, and all sorts of other nerdy things that I could teach you in addition to this video at the brainstem area, those happen first before our children are even exposed to these toxins. And they're the actual hidden in plain sight, real deep root cause as to why the toxins get trapped in the body in the first place. When the nervous system is subluxated and it's sympathetic dominant, that's what shuts down gut function. That's what messes up the microbiome. That's what wreaks havoc with the immune system and leads to 24/7, 365 neuroinflammation. It's subluxation early, even during in utero fetal development and in those first moments of life, getting shifted into that constant sympathetic dominant fight or flight mode that really then shuts down the parasympathetic vagus nerve rest, digest, detox mode. And so the nervous system must be healed. The nervous system has to be repaired before detox. The body's detox systems rely entirely on proper, optimal, full nervous system function, and specifically that parasympathetic vagus nerve branch that is in charge of digestive motility, liver function, elimination, and anti-inflammation pathways. And so again, we've said it a ton of times here already in this one, but when that subluxation and sympathetic dominance is there, the body diverts its energy and blood flow away from the organs of detoxification, like the liver and like the kidneys, and it puts the entire body into fight or flight. So it's not so worried about toxins when it's stuck in this physically locked in, almost trauma presentation. And so it's a lot like driving down the road with the emergency brake still locked on. You can be hammering on the gas pedal, and that's what so many functional medicine and detox programs are looking to do. They go all out, all of these binders, all of these supplements, all of these different things to get into the body and pull those toxins out. But if that child's body and nervous system is still subluxated and still sympathetic dominant, and the vagus nerve is still dysfunctional, they are locked in and locked up, and they can't get to a place to successfully, easily, effectively, and smoothly get those toxins out of the body, even with the best binders and the best protocols. So the final message here is the sequence matters most. In our clinical experience, and as we get more and more research and understanding of the neuroscience of chronic illness, autism, and so forth in kids, when you understand the sequence of the perfect storm and what happened in a very specific order to cause the child to get sick and end up with the diagnosis and all the symptoms and all the multifaceted, multi-system challenges that comes with it, you then know that you've got to put the healing interventions and care options in that same order. And so when we take these case histories and we look at what's really going on with autism and chronic illness in kids, it doesn't start with toxins. It ends up where the toxins are locked into the body, because the first thing that happened is subluxation, nervous system dysfunction, dysregulation, dysautonomia, sympathetic dominance, and vagus nerve dysfunction. And so those are the things in my Iowa farmer language that need to get fixed and repaired first before the detox and elimination protocols kick in. And if you do address that foundation with neurologically focused chiropractic care first, and it can take often many months to get the nervous system to that ready state and that level of regulation and what we call neurological stability, when you do, oh my goodness, now it's time to hit all systems go on the detox protocols. And not only will they be more effective and more complete, but the path to detoxification will be much smoother as well. If your child is experiencing regression during their detox, don't lose hope. This might actually be a sign that deeper healing is needed at the neurological foundational level. Rather than abandoning the detox journey altogether, consider taking a step to address that foundation first. Neurologically focused chiropractic care can help restore proper function to your child's nervous system and create a stable, what's called ready state foundation for effective, less symptomatic detoxification. At PwC Chiropractic and within the pxdocs network, we specialize not only in that foundational, neurologically focused chiropractic care and adjustments to help get the nervous system back in balance, better regulated, and to that ready state so that it can respond to interventions like detoxification and so forth more smoothly and more effectively. But we also are able to step in and help you do the toughest job out there, which is organize all these interventions and set the right batting order or sequence in place. We not only know the nervous system and root cause healing inside out, but we work hard to build a network of other providers and specialists who can step in and keep supporting that healing framework once the nervous system is more stable and ready for that to happen. Knowing what order to put these healing interventions in and when to put them in is the toughest job possible, and it's the most overlooked but wildly important aspect of helping your child heal optimally and reach their full potential with as few speed bumps and setbacks as possible. For both parents and providers alike, it can often feel like more is the right answer. But in reality, what we now know is that doing things in the right order and truly taking the time to repair and restore the foundation of the nervous system first makes all the difference in the world. Always remember, your child's body has an incredible innate capacity to heal, and sometimes it just needs the right support in the right sequence to reach that perfect unlock and ultimate breakthrough.